Every country's got some kind of weird food. The UK has mushy peas, France has snails, America has... Japan has natto. But what is natto? And do Japanese people actually like it? Well, the simple answer is natto is fermented soybeans. And do Japanese people actually enjoy this sticky delicacy? Well, that's a more complicated question, and to find that answer, we're gonna have to go back into Japan's history to see where the hell did this sticky bean come from, and how did it become a part of standard Japanese breakfasts? Simply put, natto is fermented beans, and with most fermented things over human history, its creation was a complete accident. Chocolate, wine, beer, sauerkraut, natto. The origins of natto is a massive mystery. It was likely created before writing even existed, but natto has probably been created and forgotten about thousands of times over human history, especially in Japan, where the three things you need to create natto are in abundance: soybeans, straw, and heat. There are a few prevailing stories as to where natto originally came from. One source gives credit to Prince Shotoku, where he wrapped up cooked soybeans in a bundle of straw. When reopening the soybeans a few days later, he found they had formed this sticky mass. Shotoku, a devout Buddhist not wanting to waste the food, ate the sticky beans and found them to be delicious. Natto eventually became a core, protein-rich food source for devout Zen Buddhist monks during this time. Even today in 2025 Japan, if you find yourself staying in a temple during some kind of a temple stay, in your vegetarian monk meal, you'll find yourself a little side plate of natto. While Shotoku did create natto in this story, it could be said that possibly this story suggests that natto actually came over from China during the 7th century. At this time, China was mass producing beans and straw and wheat, elements needed to create natto. So it's not hard to believe that when those items were transferred over from China to Japan, some of them may have fermented on the ship coming over. But once again, none of this had been concretely written down, so we're not entirely sure of the original origins of natto. But what we can clearly see is that natto has been part of the Japanese diet for a very long time. Buddhist monks creating natto seems to be a likely story, but in my research I found there are so many different stories of the origins of natto. People tend to believe the most entertaining one, or the one that best suits their narrative. For example, in 2025 Japan, the best place to get natto is Mito City in Ibaraki. And they have a dynamic story about the creation of natto, whose main character just so happens to be from the city. The story goes that in around the 1080s, Lord Minamoto no Yoshi was traveling around with his merry gang of samurai heading off to war. One night when they were taking refuge, stewing up some beans for dinner, there was a night attack. Not wanting to waste the beans, they quickly wrapped up the cooked beans in straw, threw them on the backs of their horses, and galloped out of there. And a few days later, where they knew they were safe, they finally reopened the straw to eat the beans. Those few days galloping around, the warmth from the horses, the bacteria in the straw fermented the beans, creating natto. Lord Minamoto, not wanting to waste any rations they had, decided to taste the sticky bean. And do you know what? It's pretty damn delectable. We don't know if that story is true. We don't even know if that is the origin of natto. But what we do know is that it's a really engaging story that comes from a city that makes and sells more natto than any city in Japan. So of course, that's going to be the story they latch onto. While we don't know the true origins of natto, what we do know is that soybeans have been cultivated in Japan since the Jomon period, about 4000 BC. The problem is, we don't know exactly when in the Jomon period natto was created. The Jomon period was pretty long and it spans about 10,000 years. But it wouldn't have been unusual for natto to have been accidentally created during the Jomon period in Japan. But once again, we have no evidence to show this. It truly is a mystery. For soybeans to transform into natto, there's only actually two things it really needs. One is humidity and the right temperature, and two is Bacillus natto, a type of special bacterium that's found in straw. And this bacterium is essential for creating natto. Bacillus natto is basically found everywhere, but it propagates most abundantly in straw. So when you think back to the Jomon period, what are they going to be storing their beans in? Woven ropes, woven barrels, woven baskets, woven floors. There's going to be so much bacillus natto everywhere, it'll be impossible for your natto not to accidentally ferment in the corner of the house somewhere, or in a stockroom somewhere. Quick aside, it wasn't until 1906 that we actually knew about the bacterium Bacillus natto. It was discovered by S. Sawamura. In his book on the microorganisms of natto, he discovered 2 different bacterium inside of natto, and the first one he isolated was Bacillus natto, a bacterium only found in natto. Which is why he of course named this new discovery after natto, a key ingredient in the fermentation of natto. In the olden days when natto was created, by accident or on purpose, it was wrapped up in straw, saying that the straw actually gave it a better taste. And that's probably because of that Bacillus natto constantly fermenting the natto, giving it a more deeper, richer flavor. Kind of similar to how cheese works, how the longer you let the cheese ferment, the deeper and the richer flavor it creates. Natto's popularity did start and spread from Mito City in Ibaraki. And back in the day, farmers would create their own little personal stock of natto, but by the middle of the Edo period, you could see natto vendors walking the streets, selling their own wares from dawn to dusk. During the Edo period, they weren't aware of Bacillus natto. They didn't really understand the mechanics behind the fermentation of natto, which is why natto was usually eaten during fall and winter. During those times, Bacillus natto was more readily available in the straw that they would wrap the soybeans in. In Edo, Japan, natto was a staple food eaten by the working class. It was often eaten with rice, pickles, and miso soup. If you look up a traditional 2025 Japanese natto breakfast, it's very, very similar to the working class natto breakfast they had during the Edo period. It goes to show, the more things change, the less they change, you know? Of course, in 2025, we understand how Bacillus natto works, and we can have fresh natto all year round. And let me tell you, people are having natto all year round. Maybe it's not as popular in the West, but right now, almost 800,000 tons of natto is produced annually. That's a crazy amount of soybeans. Natto is weird. It's a weird, sticky, fermented bean that Japanese people eat at breakfast time. But should you try it? Of course you should. If you're visiting Japan and you have a chance to try natto, I would give it a go. Look up online the ways to make it, I guess, palatable for you, a Westerner coming to Japan, because it can be described as an acquired taste. But you know what else is an acquired taste? Beer. And I know y'all drinking that beer, so come and try some natto. It's equally as good, I promise you. And if you're planning to come to Japan to live and work here, perhaps as an English teacher, you're gonna eventually be served some natto. And listen, if you're working in a school, you have to finish your plate. If they give you some natto, you're gonna have to eat it. I'm sitting in the corner of shame right now because I've actually never tried natto. I know it's good for me. I know I should try it, but I've just never done it. And I've lived in Japan for like 9 years. I've taught at schools. I don't know how I've avoided it, but I somehow have. I was gonna include a little bit of me trying natto in this video, but I decided I'll make a short instead. I just put it on the shorts. I'll probably release it the same week I release this video. So look out for that. I'll let this guy continue, sorry. Yeah, thanks. No, go on, the floor's all yours. Yeah, I'll continue. That was weird. Where was I? Natto. So that brings me back to my question. Do Japanese people like natto? Kind of. It really does depend on the area you're brought up in and how much you're exposed to natto. If you're brought up in Mito City, Ibaraki, you love it. You've seen it your entire life. It's not a weird food for you. It's a normal thing you've seen every breakfast time, I assume, since you gained consciousness. It's served at schools. It's served in izakayas. There are restaurants dedicated to natto. But if you're in a different area of Japan where natto isn't as commonly consumed, or perhaps just your household doesn't commonly consume natto, you might be more hesitant to eating it when it appears in school lunches or at the breakfast table. Foreigners or Japanese people alike, natto has been described as an acquired taste. And it appears to be a rule of the sooner you're exposed to it, the sooner you like it. Hey, so quick aside, I know some of you guys are going to be pretty hesitant to trying natto, but actually, it's stupidly good for you. Contains ridiculous amounts of protein, vitamin K, really good for your butt health, your butt biome. It helps your bloody cardiovascular system. It's an insane superfood. If it's not already popular in your country, I guarantee, just like sushi, it's going to take the health world by fucking storm. You're gonna end up having like ground up natto pills and stuff, if that already doesn't exist. But yeah, just want to let you know, it looks pretty gross, but it's really good for you. I'll let him continue. But now I want to ask you, have you tried natto before? Can you even find it in your home country? And if you've never tried it, would you try it? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm genuinely curious to know how you feel about this weird sticky bean. But guys, I'm gonna love you and leave you there. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of my video. And guys, I will see you in the next one.